Hey, this is David from OT Focus, and today I'm going to talk to you about 6 settings that I've worked in and just kind of give you like the pros and cons so you can decide which setting is best for you. Number 1 is going to be skilled nursing facility. I know this is the worst setting. Nobody wants to work in skilled nursing. I started working in skilled nursing facility after working in rehab and acute care, and I knew right off the bat this is not a setting that I want to work in. Pros and cons. The pros are going to be you usually get paid a little bit more money and it's super easy to get a job in these settings. Anybody will hire you in skilled nursing. The cons are the patients that you see, because you're going to see a lot of patients that are just harder to mobilize. These patients are usually very ill, and it can be very challenging to get them out of bed. You're gonna have the highest rate of incidence in these settings with just if you don't have good body mechanics, because you're gonna have a lot of patients that are very weak and difficult to get out of bed, and it's your job to get them up and get them moving. And a lot of these patients don't wanna move, and they're just not as motivated, and so that's another con of working in skilled nursing. And another reason to work in skilled nursing is just to further develop your skills as an OT. So next up is rehab. Now this is very similar to skilled nursing. It's an easy setting to work in. The pros are gonna be like you're gonna really know these patients. You're gonna get to get really close to them. You're gonna spend a lot of time with them, and you actually get to see them throughout these 3-4 weeks. You're gonna see how they improve, and I think that can be rewarding. The cons are you're gonna have to work with these patients for 90 minutes, and some rehab facilities will break this up, but others won't. So you have 90 minutes to spend with these patients, and that can be a little awkward sometimes. So I like to just do showers if I can with the patients, just because it takes up a lot of that bulk of that time. But I know you can't always just do showers with you. Sometimes you have to do different activities and get creative. And it can be hard to become creative every day and think about 90-minute treatment plans. So anyway, that's acute rehab. Not my favorite setting, but I prefer it over skilled nursing. Next up is acute care. Acute care was actually my first job. I started working in a hospital. In these settings, you're working in the ICU, you're working in ortho, med-surg, step-down units. You're seeing all the patients in the hospital, maybe even pediatric. And in these settings, I like it the best because you can usually be a little more flexible with your schedule, and you're not scheduled. Like in acute care, you don't see a patient at 9 o'clock and then your next patient is scheduled at 10. Now, some places are like that, but in general, you have that flexibility to see a patient when you want to see them. And then you can actually extend a treatment time and shorten other treatment times depending on how you want to prioritize your schedule. So acute care for me, the pro is just gonna be, it's like really fast paced, and you're gonna see patients for like a really short amount of time, and you just kind of get through your day really quickly. And the con is gonna be like you might not be able to get to know these patients as well. You're not gonna spend as much time with them, and you're not gonna really be able to spend that quality time like you would in rehab and seeing how the patient progresses as much. But for me, I just like it better because I like that fast-paced environment. And in acute care, you can learn so much, and you can develop your skills a lot. Like say you have patients that have hand injuries, you can actually do splinting in acute care. Say you have patients with like trauma or acute needs, like you're gonna see like all different types of patients in these settings. So you can just like really develop your skills and really grow in this field. Next up is gonna be home health. I actually didn't have a great job starting out in home health, but I think home health is a really good setting if you want to like work less, or if you want to retire and just see like a couple patients a week. So the pros are going to be your schedule is incredibly flexible. You can see the patients whenever you want. Another pro is just the patients usually like you, and they're just easy to work with. A lot of them know you're coming, and so they're going to be dressed and like ready to go and motivated to work with you. Now the cons are going to be some patients will stand you up. They won't be at their house when you show up. You have to drive, and some places will make you drive like clear across town, depending on which home health group you work for. Other home health groups will actually let you decide which zip codes you will work for, and that's the way to do it if you're gonna get into home health. Another pro of home health is you're just not gonna hurt yourself as much. It's an easy job to get into, and you're not gonna have to lift heavy patients in and out of bed like you would in skilled nursing or acute rehab. Okay, next step is gonna be hand therapy. So outpatient OT is gonna be completely different than inpatient OT. These patients are gonna be driving to the facility and walking in, whereas in an inpatient setting, you're gonna be motivating them to get out of bed. Hand therapy is a great setting to work in because you get to become really proficient. You become an expert in this field. You can become an expert at splinting. And you can become like an expert in like anatomy and just helping people with like their hand injuries. I started out working in hand therapy right after I started working in a hospital, and I felt like this was actually really helpful for the hospital setting that I worked at because there weren't any hand therapists. And I really developed a lot of skills on just understanding the shoulder better and just the whole upper extremity so I can treat those patients. Hand therapy is a really good field to get into if you're really interested in anatomy and physiology and just kind of like the science of the body. The cons of working in hand therapy are going to be repetition. You're going to be seeing the same type of patients all the time. A lot of times you're going to be seeing just like carpal tunnel or patients with distal radius fractures all the time, and that can get a little bit boring after time. So for me, it was easy to just work like 1 or 2 days a week, and then the rest of the week I would work at like a hospital. Other cons working in hand therapy are going to be just seeing patients that are workman comp patients, and a lot of times you see these patients that are kind of malingering or faking their condition, and that can be like really frustrating if your job is to kind of help someone with the therapy process when they're not really putting forth the effort and trying. Ideally, the best job would be if you're working in private practice, you're seeing your own patients, you're not taking these workman comp patients, and you're just seeing people that want to be there and need your help. All right, the last setting I'm going to talk about is ergonomics. So ergonomics, the pros and cons. The pros are you get to make your own schedule if you're working for yourself. The cons are going to be marketing because this is your own business. You got to figure out how that all works. You got to get an LLC. You have to probably create a website and market and make calls to other places to find people that will take your services in ergonomics, and that can be frustrating. I actually just started in ergonomics, and that's just the marketing has been like the hardest part about it. The pros are going to be, it can be exciting because you're doing something new, and there's so many different things you can do in ergonomics. Another con would be just if you were just to work in one setting like office ergonomics and just seeing the same type of clients every day, just helping them with office ergonomics. But in general, I think it's a great field to get into. And if you can actually start at an organization or maybe like a hospital that needs an ergonomist, that's a good way to get started. And in those fields, they'll actually train you and you can get more education and feel a little bit more comfortable doing what you do as an ergonomic specialist. But you're also going to be working for an organization, which can be kind of limiting it at times and probably will pay a little bit less. So for me, I don't know, I just would rather work on my own and kind of do it as a side business. Okay, so which setting do I think is the best? I would say, for me, it's acute care. I like working in the hospital. And then second is gonna be hand therapy. I actually really like working in hand therapy. I just don't like doing it every day and having like a huge caseload. Because a lot of places you work for will make you see like 3, 4, 5. I've had 6 patients I've seen in an hour. You don't want to work for a place that's like a factory and you don't get to spend this quality time with patients. You want to find a place that is only seeing like 1 to 2 patients per hour. And these places are typically going to be hospitals. Just try to avoid the places that are factories where you're seeing patients back to back. Typically want to see 1 to 2 patients per hour. Top 3 professions to work in are going to be, for me, it's acute care, it's hand therapy, and then probably ergonomics. I'd stay away from SNFs if you can. I know they pay more, but it's not really worth it in the end for me. I hope you like this video. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.